It's part of our Great Fundy Coastal Cleanup event. Donc, bonjour à tous, bienvenue. Juste pour vous laisser savoir, la présentation va être majoritairement en anglais, mais les deux présentateurs sont à l'aise en français aussi. Donc, si vous avez des questions, sentez-vous à l'aise de poser des questions en français. So I will just begin by acknowledging that the nature preserves that the Nature Trust of New Brunswick protects are situated on the unsurrendered and unceded homelands of the Wolastoq, Mi'kmaq, and Pescataqui peoples. In the 18th century, various treaties between these three nations and the British Crown were co-developed, with the first being signed in 1725. The treaties did not surrender lands, waters, or resources. They established rules for what was going to be a relationship of peace, friendship, and mutual respect between nations. And in an effort to reconcile the intent of these treaties, the Nature Trust looks to these nations and the enduring relationships of the land and the waters. So a little bit about the Nature Trust. We're a charitable land conservation organization, and we conserve and steward private land in New Brunswick. We have various events on our nature preserves, and one of them is the Great Fundy Coastal Cleanup. So now we have over 14,700 acres of land, officially this year, over 100 nature preserves. And if you would like to know more about our organization, we will be sharing some links throughout the presentation so you can keep in touch with us. And for now, I'll pass it over to Beth to get you more situated.
Hi guys. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Great Fundy Coastal Cleanup. The Nature Trust has hosted cleanups on our coastal preserves since the 90s, which has evolved into the Great Fundy Coastal Cleanup, and this is the 11th year. This annual event invites New Brunswickers to clean up local waterways and coasts. And it started out along the Bay of Fundy, but now we encourage people to clean up some sites kind of across the coasts of New Brunswick, and just local waterways like on the mainland within New Brunswick. Over the years, hundreds of citizens have joined us, and are dozens of partners to help safeguard these shores and riverbanks, removing tens of thousands of pounds of marine debris and litter. There's a few different ways that you can participate in the GFCC, either by attending a Nature Trust led event on one of our harder to reach nature preserves. Our sites this year are kind of along the coast. You could also join one of our partner-led sites, which are led by local organizations, or you can lead your own cleanup, and you can find more information on our website, which V just linked to that. To help get in the spirit for the GFCC, the single day of action against marine debris, this webinar will explore New Brunswick's marine ecosystems, the species that depend on them, and the threats that they face. And now I'm going to bring it back to V.
All right, so today we have Matt Abott, Marine Program Director with the Conservation Council of New Brunswick. He will discuss the roles of marine debris, the work behind it, and the social and environmental movements. And then we have Lewnanny Richardson, the Species at Risk Program Director with Nature and Bee. And he will really go over how it actually happens on the field, and especially in the Acadian Peninsula. So Beth will also share a couple links in the chat on the work they do or their organizations. And then finally, before we begin, We'd like to thank our funders for this webinar and the Great Fundy Coastal Cleanup event, the TD Friends of the Environment Fund, and also all of our community partners who make this possible. So on top of the two organizations present here, we have Boater from Connor Brothers Seafood and other ENGOs that help us just get to those remote sites and clean up and do all the great work that we do. So please welcome Matt and Lewnanny, two experts that will help us learn more about the marine debris situation. So yeah, I'll hand it off to Matt to begin with.
Excellent. The obligatory question of if you can see my screen. Can you see it, Vero?
It's perfect. I can see.
Okay, excellent. Bienvenue à tout le monde, tous les amis. Comme Véron nous a dit, je vais parler en anglais pour la présentation, mais sentir libre de demander des questions aux fins en français. Je peux répondre aussi en français. So thank you. I've called my presentation today Cleaning Our Beaches While Building Our Movements. I've been with the Conservation Council of New Brunswick for just about 17 years, and I've been involved in our marine debris work ever since. This presentation will focus a little less on sort of the data around marine debris, or we'll touch briefly on some of the issues with it. But the real focus, I wanted to take this opportunity when the Nature Trust asked me to be part of this webinar to talk about some of the broader benefits, both social and within the environmental movement, I see from initiatives like beach cleanups, and some of the reasons that aren't as obvious that it's really good to participate in these. I'm really looking forward to hearing from Lewnanny as well, someone I've admired on this front ever since I came, and I look forward to hearing more about his work. So a little on the Conservation Council of New Brunswick, and just to backtrack a little, I do have a timer going on my phone, but Vero or Beth, feel free to let me know when I've got 2 or 3 minutes left. Okay, let's see if my slides actually.
Matt, you're muted.
I think you can press space bar and it's gonna be good.
Spacebar mutes, not moves my slides forward. Very confusing. I'm really good at technology. So the Conservation Council of New Brunswick is part of the early wave of the North American modern environmental movement. People have always cared about the places we live in, have been fighting for them forever. Especially in this region since colonization, and where I live, we've seen the heart of the impacts. Even though there's been European presence here for about 400 years, we've seen really heavy impacts in the last 200. So, but in terms of the modern environmental movement, the kinds of groups we're used to now, a lot of that started in the late 60s, early 70s. So we're part of that wave. And we're a membership-based environmental organization dedicated to safeguarding a healthy, sustainable, just environment for all. So we have, I have colleagues working on forestry issues, freshwater issues, doing engagement, education, working on some of the issues we've seen around mines and pipelines, and also working on broader climate change issues. We'll see if I can now move a slide. And that lovely photo you're seeing is of a North Atlantic right whale. I don't know, I might only be able to move slides while muting myself for some reason. This was working in practice. Okay, we've moved along. So there's a whole host of issues with debris in the ocean. And so, there was a time where we still had a fair bit of activity on the water where debris wasn't as big an issue. And that's because, back in the day, our rope was made of hemp, our bags were made of paper, even our tin cans would break down over time. So, yes, there were ropes and nets that animals could entangle in, but they would wear away and they would be weaker and we'd be able to break them. But with the advent of plastics and modern materials, we've seen a whole host of issues emerge. So, key among those are things like entanglements, just meaning when animals from whales all the way down to lobster and crabs and smaller things get caught up in rope or net or other things. And that can slow them down, make it hard for them to move. And for our marine mammals that breathe, it's particularly dangerous when they get attached to something that's attached to the bottom in some way, be it on a mooring block or on fishing gear or something. We also have animals eating plastics because they're hard to distinguish from food. Many of us have heard about how plastic bags can look like jellyfish, but the saddest case I've heard is a dear friend, Dr. Catherine Hood, who recently passed in her late 80s, but was a real champion for whales. She did a necropsy on a sperm whale in Newfoundland, and the only cause of death she could find was a bleach bottle that was being used as a bailer in its stomach, blocking off its intestines. So, one piece of garbage caused a lot of damage. When we get to microplastics, I like to say, once plastic's in the ocean, it's going to break down and it's going to get smaller. And the smaller it gets, the more it looks like food to smaller things. So that's a big issue. Some of it enters as microplastics, but anything that's out there, if it's not removed, it will become microplastics over time. And on the left-hand side, you see some styrofoam sort of flakes just covering a beach. And that's sort of the beginning stages of microplastics. Plastics are also a source of chemical pollution. They aren't inert, they interact with the aquatic environment and even on land. And chemical pollution from marine debris, plastics, has been linked to things like lobster shell disease. So the issues are more than just an unsightly beach or entanglements, it's quite broad. And as we can see again in that image on the bottom left, enough debris can really cause habitat destruction. That beach is a much healthy place for the things that like to live on or in the beach due to all those little beads of styrofoam. The middle image is just to sort of show how hard it is to remove things once they arrive in the ocean, right? We really need to think about prevention when we're doing this work. So that's me on an island in the Bay of Fundy, having to stand and sort of gondola row my boat, a little rowboat out to a small boat, a small 20-foot motorboat, and there'd be days where you're getting 5 or 6 loads with that little motorboat filled with garbage to my chest just from one island and a dozen people. And then on the last image is a group picture from a beach cleanup that we do every year with Paddlefest in St. Andrews. So I want to tell you a bit of the story of marine debris as I know it in what I'm calling the Quaddy region. That's why it says the Quaddy story. I call the Quaddy region, we often refer to the waters sort of from Point Lepreau over to Grand Manan, over to the New Brunswick and Maine coast as the Quaddy region. It's one of the most biologically productive marine regions in Canada, and because of that, really in the North Atlantic, and because of that, it's also one of the busiest with shipping, aquaculture, fishing, and everything else. So it's where we've focused a lot of effort. So what the dynamics, some of the social dynamics I've seen around marine debris in the Quaddy region include that it's been a persistent source in the last, 40, 50 years, really, of community concern and conflict. And that conflict can be between industries. So the aquaculture industry and the fishing industry, for instance, if you're moving gear on the water, you can entangle lobster traps, drag them into deeper water, or cut their lines. and turn them into ghost gear. We've also had lots of community concern that when that styrofoam from floats or salmon cages will wash up on shore as well as large pieces of infrastructure. So it's been a steady source of conflict and sort of just challenges and tension in communities. In the Quaddy region, though, we've seen really impressive fisheries leadership on removal of ghost gear. There are people doing ghost gear removals in the outer Bay of Fundy in waters that are so deep I would never try to put anything down. It's truly impressive, and these people can do this work because of a lifetime of knowledge of the waters. And that's thanks to Fundy North Fishermen's Association. They've really been pioneers on ghost gear removal, even to the point that when there started to be efforts in the Gulf of St. Lawrence and Northumberland Strait, fishermen from my region were going to other areas to help teach the lessons of ghost gear removal. And I've just given a few of examples. Ever since I've been here, we've seen community leadership. I already showed you a picture of the Paddle Fest beach cleanup. Also, there's a now 10-year-old that since she was 8 in St. Stephen organizes cleanups and gets a bunch of people on board. And so we really see community energy behind this. The photos I'm showing you, one of them is a map of large or sunken debris that we developed in a project I'm about to tell you about. The top image shows how deep into the woodlands and onto land marine debris can go. All that styrofoam would have landed likely in a storm pushing a high tide into the forest. And then on the far side, what you're looking at is what it looks like, some of these ghost gear removals. It's not for the faint of heart. It's really a lot of infrastructure and stuff gets tangled up on the sea bottom. So my timer stopped working, so just let me know, Vero, when I'm getting close. So a bit more on the Quaddy story. So I was telling you that it's been a consistent source of tension and conflict between people who use the water, but also between community and folks who work on the water, and just between residents. So from a social perspective, there's real merit to working together and finding ways to deal with marine debris. And there have been some things that might initially seem boring, meetings and councils and roundtables and committees. But they've really led to a great deal of energy in Southwest New Brunswick, the Quaddy region. And I think it's helped people find ways to work together and to start to address a problem that had been persistently creating conflict. And so one of those was the Marine Advisory Council, a group set up by the federal government to bring sort of rights holders and stakeholders together to advise decision making. And marine debris was just about the only thing people could agree on, but it was a place to start, and that was valuable. That led to the Marine Debris Strategic Advisory Committee, or the MDSAC, and I've managed to convince everyone to call it the Mud Sack because I think that's funny. And it's really great now to hear people from DFO talking about the Mud Sack, which is just fun. So that's where all the NGOs, folks from industry and elsewhere come together. And the map I showed you was something we called the Marine Debris Roundtable. We'd seen persistent action from fishing organizations to remove some of their lost gear. We weren't seeing the same activity from aquaculture. So what we did is we worked with the fishing organizations and met with fishermen who know the most about what's on the bottom of the ocean because they interact with the bottom through their gear to map where non-fishing debris was, either large things on the beach or things on the bottom of the ocean. And through this process, we were able to, with some arm twisting, get the aquaculture industry to the table and begin doing some cleanups. And it was a really great case of a mix of willingness to work together and a little bit of pressure getting government in the room with industry so they've got their regulators on hand. And we began to see some cleanups of stuff we'd been pushing for decades at that point. And of course, on the list of sort of the greatest hits in the Quaddy region is the Great Fundy Coastal Cleanup. I think we talked about the scale of this issue, the issue with microplastics entanglements, and the Great Fundy Coastal Cleanup sort of cracked how to do this at scale. And when in a minute, I'll talk about lessons learned on the marine debris file. And a lot of those come from the Great Fundy Coastal Cleanup. How's my time, Vero?
I'd say you have like 5 minutes.
Oh, that's plenty.
Okay.
That's plenty. So, and I'll let you know what pictures you were seeing before. So on the left there is my dear friend Joe Hunt. He called me because a barge had washed up near his home and it was spilling styrofoam. And so we did a cleanup, and by him and I working together and a few others, we were able to find who owned the barge. And they were able to remove it, but some of the debris had already spread. The next picture over is a just wonderful summer student I had when he was 15. Nathaniel, and that's when we still had issues with illegal dumping at Black Beach in Musquash, and that's no longer an issue because Musquash has become such a popular site for people to visit. So now that people are going to Black Beach for recreation, we don't see them going there to dump illegally anymore. And below is sort of abandoned aquaculture infrastructure. And what happens with those cages is that as they split apart, the styrofoam that's floating them spills out. And some of the stuff we saw in the forest in an earlier image likely came from potentially those cages or ones nearby. So I've sort of broadly talked about the activity I've seen around marine debris, and there's a few key lessons. But before we get to the lessons, we can all agree that my kid was real cute. When she was 7, she's still awesome. She's 16, and yes, she has given me permission to use this picture. She would just come with me on beach cleanups in the summer when school was out. Whenever if she could come to work with me, she did. And so this is a picture of her with 2 summer students, and I just love the pose. They kind of look like her enforcers. And she's got an outfit on that now embarrasses her, but that I think is really quite impressive. And so key lessons, marine debris can be a good place to bring unlikely allies together. So I already mentioned this, right? Like, I have spent a lot of time criticizing the salmon aquaculture industry around marine debris, but it's also the place where I've worked the most with them and managed to achieve some things. So it's something that everyone can agree is a problem, and it can get people in a room together. And once you're in a room, other things can happen. Another key lesson is cleanups matter, especially at the scale of the Great Fundy Coastal Cleanup. And they matter because, what we remove doesn't become those entanglements or that something that an animal might choke on or mess up their digestive tract. But also, I've seen them as a way to build the broader conservation movement. And that's because it's a good place for almost anyone to get involved. You can drive, you can work a table passing out gear. The very young can be involved in safe and appropriate ways. As we age, we can be involved in gentler ways. And I would say that with this picture of Anna, I was reminded of a lesson taught to me by a just wonderful Bescoter-Mogati elder named Dolly Apt. And when someone asked her advice on how she approaches making sure the next generation are raised in her traditions, her key message was bring the kids with you. Whatever you're doing, just bring them if you can. And so that's another lesson. And a key lesson is that we protect what we love and we love what we experience. The engagement we do, the education we do matters because that's what builds our movement and builds the love for the places we live in. So with that, I'll just say thank you very much. if it's gonna move for me again. Has the slide moved for you guys? The
Not
next
yet.
isn't. It's another picture of Anna. It's super cute. You need to see it.
It didn't move yet.
So I'll just say I'm pressing the same buttons I was before.
Oh.
Oh no. So what I'll do is I'll see if I can I'll go to the next one and
Oh,
try
yeah.
to open from there.
That's
Excellent.
perfect.
So,
Yeah.
merci. Thank you. This is another picture of Anna from that same beach cleanup. She was very happy with the My Little Pony she found. We took it home, combed its hair, washed it up, and it had another decade of life so far. So, just because this stuff matters doesn't mean it can't be fun and that we can't build our communities while we do it. So get out there. Who knows what treasures you may find. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Matt. Awesome. So now we'll jump into a presentation from Lewnanny, and yeah, you can share your screen whenever you're ready.
Let me know when it works.
Yes, we see your screen. So we'll go right into it, and then we'll have 10 to maybe 15 minutes at the end for questions and just a discussion. Yeah,
All
go
right.
ahead, Lewnanny.
All right. So just for everybody to know, so I consider myself bilingual. So if you have any question in French, so that's not a problem. So I'll do my presentation in English. So my presentation was called Wash Up Trash, Clean Up Beach, the Nature and Bee Hidden Agenda. So why I'm saying that? So Nature and Bee is it gonna work? Okay, Nature and Bee is a nonprofit organization, so it's located in Fredericton area. But we have many offices all across New Brunswick. So I have the chance to be working for Nature and Bee for the last 26 years. And my office is here. I'm at home on where I'm living. So this is one of the office of Nature and Bee. So we are focused on the Acadian Peninsula. So the staff of Nature and Bee, so there's some that have been there for a long time. So Vanessa has been there for the last 20 years. I've been there for 26 years. And there's a couple of other folks that have been there for many years. So we are really a really nice, dedicated staff. So it's really fun. So too bad that we are really far away from each other. So it's hard to be able to talk like face to face, but we are always online doing meetings. So every Monday we have a meeting with all together to see what we gonna do each week. So I have a picture from my tree coastal protector from this year. So just took that picture 2 days ago. So our main objective of our program is to protect a species at risk that's called the piping plover. So it's a bird that nests on the coastline directly on the beach. So it's a species at risk in Atlantic Canada. Nature and Bee is also doing a lot of bird surveys, the protection of the habitat, and every year we hired coastal protector to do those tasks. So as you can imagine, I've been there for 26 years. So been a long ride. I'm still doing that ride. It's really fun. I love my job. It's not just a job. It's like my passion. So the territory that we cover, it's a really big one. It's about 125 kilometers of coastline. So the point that you see, it's where the plovers are nesting year after year. So we have to cover a lot of habitat. So just give me 2 seconds. So after a while, just realized that there's a lot of trash that we found on the coastline. I saw a couple of birds that was tangled into those trash, and I decided just like in 2019, decided to put more effort toward the cleanup of those beaches. And I had a couple of staff that was like, okay, let's do something big. So we gonna start by gathering all the trash that we've been able to find that year, put them behind my garage, and do an exposition in Tragedy in 2019. So that's when it started to be like the big thing for Nature and Bee. So every year we go and try to clean the beach that we have. that we go on. So we do our survey, like the bird survey. So when we come back, I'm always asking my staff, since we're just walking coming back, so let's clean those areas. So it's going to be like having one killing one bird with two. No, I don't know how to say that. Killing two birds with one stone. In French, c'est une pierre deux coups. So we've been doing that since then. So since 2019, we've been cleaning as much as we could. So I've started to gather the information in 2013, but I had no pictures. I just have like a couple of like numbers with me. But since 2019, we've been taking the number and take like to see how much trash that we are able to gather every year. So this is an example of 1 year in 2019. After that, I've done many outing with schools. We've cleaned up many places. So as you can see, you can see all the trash that we've gathered like in one season. So this is one example of one season of trash that we've put in tragedy in an exposition. And people did not, at that time, people were not like understanding what we were doing there. They thought we were trashing that place, but we were trying to get people more aware. So we were like, okay, it's not the perfect scenario, but people could see how many trash we were able to gather in one single year. So the number, this is the number I have. So if you can see, I've started to record the number of pounds of trash that we're removing since 2013, but since then, since 2019, the staff I had were like, let's do it like hardcore. So we started with those numbers. You can see the first year that we decided to clean a lot was with 3,348 pounds. And after that, we continued that way. And I said to my staff this year, so we are almost at the third position. So let's try to get to at least 2,200 pounds so that we could be like at the third position from all the year that we have done. And one of my staff said to me, Laurent said to me today, let's try to get to pass that. So we're going to try to clean more and more in the next couple of weeks. So we've decided also in many years to decide to clean some lobster traps. So with my coastal predators, so we have cleaned in 2021 43 lobster traps. As you can see, in 2022, my staff were dedicated to 65. 2022 17, and this year we are at 5, so we're going to try to get more. Tires, the same thing. We decided to do that special cleanup where we could find some tires, so we decided to clean them like as much as we can. So as you can see, in 2021, 21 tires. So there's a lot. I don't know where they're because there's a program that they are supposed to be recycled and it's free. But some people will throw them at sea, and it's really, really weird. So that's the number that we have. Where do we do our cleaning? Where do we clean? It's mostly on Barrier Island, where it's hard to reach. So you need a boat. Most of the time, we go where we need a boat, so people don't go there usually. And we are focusing also on beaches where plover is nesting. So I have to cover 33 beaches, but I'm not cleaning all of them. So probably cleaning like 10. 15 of them, so there's a lot of cleaning that could be done, but as you know, the funding is really hard to get. So this is an example of what we do with our lobster trap. So it's heavy and it's really bulky, so it's hard to get like even more than one lobster trap on the boat. So we decided with a couple of my staff to try to experience some stuff. So we've started to cut them and place them like a backpack. So as you can see in the picture of the middle, you can see Josué had those lobster trap on his back. So we were able to gather those lobster trap on a long distance. So that's what we've been doing since that time. I've done many cleanups like this one. Those numbers are not included in my number because it was like something that we have done with other groups, so I did not include those numbers. So, but there's probably more than 2,000 pounds of trash on that day on that cleanup. So we found a lot of new trash. So it's not just trash related to fishing. So there's a lot of trash that we found like there. Okay, you're gonna see my other couple of slides. So we start to see stuff that are getting like destroyed on some barrier islands. So since the storm Fiona, 8 cottages have been like it's squatter. It's cottages, but the squatters are not supposed to be there, but they are like allowed to be there. But they have 8 of them have been destroyed, and all that stuff is just hanging there in the bay. And as you're gonna see, so this is a cottage that was there a couple of years ago. So it's not just a cottage; it's like a big house. And when Fiona hit, this is the result of that cottage. It was 100% gone. 100% gone. So it was completely gone. So all of that stuff material have been found everywhere on the coastline of the Yucatan Peninsula. So I've been dragging, sighting, like even in Tavistock, that it's about 40 kilometers from there. So those trash are just becoming more and more common on the coastline. So one of the role of my coastal predator is to try to retrieve as much as we can. So we have found 5 refrigerators last year, and there's 2 volunteers that got there with this skidoo and they removed them from the coastline. So they said to me, if you do a pile somewhere of big item, we're gonna go there in the winter to try to get them from that barrier island. So as you can see, there's a lot of weird trash. It's not just like fishing stuff. It's also all kind of stuff like construction, all the stuff that you can find like in a kitchen, etc. So just to give you an example, all the cottages that you see in red, it's not there anymore. So this is that have been destroyed a couple of years ago. It was 2 years ago. So we've completely lost those cottages due to a storm in January. So unfortunately, though, that stuff is there on the beach, in the bay, and everywhere. So it's unfortunate. But once they lose their cottages, they're just like, it's not my stuff, so I'm not gonna go and retrieve those trash. So you can imagine how many bundle of roofing and siding and toilet, refrigerators, sofa, etc. So it's in the bay, and we are trying to get as much as we can each summer. So it's hard to get funding for that kind of work. So Nature NB is always doing it like an hidden agenda. So I'm just always asking my staff. They could say it's not part of my job. I don't want to do it, but it's always okay. Let's clean and try to get rid as much as pound as we can. So this is in 2019. So Annabelle was working with me. She was a nurse that wanted to have the experience with Nature NB. So she was studying in environment and decided, let's clean all the rope that we can find on the coastline. So this is just one summer of ropes, just to give you an example how many trash that we are able to gather. So to start to promote that work that we were doing, I just decided to open my own Instagram and start to post those pictures on Instagram. So if you go on my Instagram, it's my name, Lewnanny, and you're gonna see each day that we do a cleanup. So it's there. So I'm trying to get as much as people as possible. So right now I'm at 784 followers. So those people is following me every day. So every day I'm doing a post so they can see how much trash that we are able to get every time we go in the field. And I think it's the perfect portal to be able to show what we're doing. I've tried a couple of one. There's a lot of application that you can put your stuff there, but it's not perfect. But Instagram is just perfect. So what I've decided in 2026 to start to do. So this is one of my posts, just to give you an example. So this is one of my posts. I'm doing like a title, giving it the title, and after that, I'm taking all this stuff in account. So you see the date, how many pounds that we have removed from the coastline. And new in 2026, we decided to count the feet of rope, the number of buoys that we are gathering, the lobster traps. So every time we gather about lobster traps, so as you can see, it's Nature in Brunswick, NB 131. It's the trap 131, and in 2026, and it was 17 pounds. So just to give you an example, and I decided also to record this year the distance that we have cleanup and the distance that we have all those trash. So just to give good numbers for reports and trying to get maybe in the future more funding to show that this is a real problem. So with more more storm that's coming. Really, as you know, with the climate change, there's more and more storm. So we're going to see that kind of stuff, like cottages that get destroyed, and that stuff are stuck on the coastline. So I want to do a new project. So I've started a couple of weeks ago I started with my boss Vanessa saying, okay, I want to have 2 emails. So I have an email that's called hacked at commercial natureandbeat.ca, and in French agir at natureandbeat.ca. And I want to have I want to try to get people involved to show us what they are doing on the coastline. So there's a lot of people that clean those trash. Every time I see someone that is cleaning like a beach, I'm always going there super fast. Hey, thank you very much to do that stuff. So, and people are always respond to me, oh, we're doing this every day. We are cleaning the coastline every time we go on the beach. So we clean, and I don't have that data. We don't have that data, and I think it will be super interesting to get those people involved. So what I want to do, I want to have signs that we place on the coastline saying, if you want to help Nature and Bee or another organization in New Brunswick, you can send us a picture, send us the amount of trash that you have gathered, and we can use them in our report to use that stuff in our stuff. So just to give you an example of what I've developed a couple of weeks, it's not a couple of weeks ago, it's a week ago. So I just have a book, I don't know how to say that. It's something that you place into your book, a bookmark, and it's just follow the work that we do in the field. So follow my Instagram, and after that, if you want to help, just send us an email showing what you have gathered, and that information could be put like toward our stuff and to show that Canadian are helping to clean the coastline in other area. So this is what I wanted to show. So what's going on, like at Nature and Beast, that we had 1 year of funding under the the Beer Goals funding, and it stopped, but I think it's coming back again. So we are applying to try to see if we could do something. Another program I want to do, another project I want to do, and Vanessa said to me that we don't have to apply for it, but it will be really fun to have a sign that I can place on each beach. And on that sign, I could place that we have removed, like, let's say that beach, for an example, a beach, we have removed 200 pounds of that beach. So Nature and Beat, and you can help have like a QR code. And this is something I'm looking toward, like 2027 to launch that project. So this is what I'm trying to do. And that's about it for me. I hope I was not talking alone, because like it seems so silent.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you guys both for sharing all of this. It's been so much fun to kind of hear what you guys are up to, and what kind of like movements are going on our coasts. I'm certainly feeling inspired to go clean up some shores. I'm excited for the GFCC. A couple things. I would like to thank the TD Friends of Environment Fund for funding this webinar and the GFCC. A reminder that our sites our cleanups are happening on August 29th, and we have a barbecue after. You two are welcome, or you are all welcome to attend the barbecue. It's at P Point Nature Preserve at 4 o'clock on August 29th. And again, if you guys haven't signed up for our newsletter, link is in the chat, and you'll just stay up to date on our events, volunteer opportunities, and hear from some of our staff. And now I want to open it up to questions if anyone has any for Matt or Lewnanny. Yeah, Kaylin.
Perfect. Hi guys, I'm Kay Harris. I currently work at the Atlantic Canada Fish Farmers Association.
Yes.
So I would actually like to figure out how we could help more. How can I get people more involved? I'm also I wouldn't say founder, more catalyst of a group called the Society of Emerging Aquaculturists. So that's a group of young people that obviously really care about the sustainability of aquaculture and it moving forward with, you know, conservation and things of that in mind. So I would like to know how I can incorporate ourselves into whatever you guys are doing more
Great.
efficiently. I just want to help. How can I help?
Great. Can I start, Beth?
Yeah, of course.
Great to see you, Caitlin. Now that I didn't recognize your name at first, but we bump into each other at the career
Agriculture
fair,
fair,
at the elementary
yeah.
school, and a whole bunch of things. So
Yeah.
that's great. As I said, there's been quite a journey. I'm curious how you saw my characterization of the conflict and stuff, but I've really seen sort of ebbs and flows in that conflict. And I think we've seen more cooperation than we've seen in the past, so that's good.
Okay.
I'm talking past 15, 20 years, right? And
It's
so
okay, but I want to keep the cooperation up. So if it
exactly.
if it ever
Exactly.
like
So
weans or if there's anything I can do to
so
like,
I think I know there's opportunity for coordination. I know that Nature Trust, you can speak to this if you want, Beth, do work with partners to get people to islands for the cleanups,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And that's important to the more remote sites, which are important to clean up. And the other thing about the Great Fundy Cleanup is it's super fun. You get to go to really cool places. And so I'd say that's definitely an opportunity. For on my side of things, we're definitely I'm in conversation with Tom when I get reports. You know, I reach out through the province and Tom to see about who can do the cleanups, if the source looks like it might be from aquaculture, or if it's just beyond our capacity to do a cleanup, right?
Yeah, like a large vessel might be
And
needed or something
yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or a crew or whatever. So I think those sorts of things,
They're coming together. Like
yeah, and
they're
mention it,
okay.
you know, you guys, I don't know if your team hosts any sites for the Great Fundy Cleanup, Beth, but I'm sure you could. You
We
might.
tried last year, but I think it conflicted when we had the rain date with the Charlotte County Fall Fair that they
Yeah,
have as well. So that
that
has
happened to
nothing to
me
do
too.
with, yeah, so that's like perfectly fine. I am obviously looking to join August 29th at one
Yeah.
of whatever your cleanups are. So stick me anywhere you guys
Well,
would need me
go to
kind of
the
thing.
link and you can register for one that still has room.
Okay,
Um,
And
perfect.
go ahead, Beth. Yeah.
Okay. I guess this is my pitch. So we have so for the Great Fundy Coastal Cleanup, we have the Nature Trust led sites. Then we have partner led sites, which is like from different partner organizations.
Yeah.
I've been in communications with like a bunch of organizations. So like if you had an organization that you wanted to like lead a cleanup and then have your own batch of volunteers, that's wonderful. Or you can just like take on your own individually. Um, and those are
This
kind
would
of the
be my
three different
first
ways.
year, so
Okay.
I'm hoping to like tag on with you guys.
Yeah.
However, with the Society of Emerging Aquaculturists, I'm hoping to get us more involved with marine cleanups as well. So hopefully next year I'll have more of
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
understanding of where to go and I'll have more of a crew kind of
Cool.
situation. So that I am on board with like continuing
And
our investment or
excellent.
our manpower every year for that, which is great. I'm wondering, I have been approached by the government of New Brunswick about some debris at Casco Bay Island. And I think it was, okay, is that still there? If it
I don't
is
know,
there any,
but do you have my email?
I don't. Maybe
I'll
we
put
should
it in the
exchange
chat,
some
okay?
information.
Tom
Okay,
has
yeah,
it,
okay.
but I'll put it in the chat. And can I say one more thing that maybe this hasn't always been popular within any given industry, but one thing that we've advocated that we could have conversations about is gear marking. Like it would be, and I don't see it as just a
It,
like shaming element, but it's like you
no.
know where something is, Cage infrastructure is stamped, so you know which site it came from. You know, we're back to having mostly one company in Southwest New Brunswick, but other areas it's a bit more diverse. And so
Yeah.
just that helps both the motivation on the personal side of like, oh,
Mhm.
I'll be caught if I lose this because it's got my name on it.
Is there a fine? Not that there like should be if anyone's out there in the aquaculture industry, but is there like a way to like, you know, even like a $50 like slap on the wrist, be like, you know, tally it up if you've been losing things? Okay, yeah. So there
Yeah,
is. He was
not
like,
right
no, there is
now.
no
And
fine. There's
let's
nothing like
have this
that.
conversation. And I
Yeah.
just want to leave room for other folks, but
Yes.
I really appreciate your openness to that. But I think your marking is a step we can take. The new Aquaculture Act is a little better, but the old one, unless you had like legally usable footage of a piece of gear floating off a site, there couldn't be any enforcement.
Okay.
So, and basically if you had someone watching it go and not doing anything. So yeah,
Mhm.
like I think in case there's any other questions, but I just put my email in the chat and I'd love to hear from you, Caitlin. I'd
Yeah,
love to
perfect.
see you more than just at the career fair at the elementary school.
Well, hopefully you'll see me on the shores cleaning up some
Yes.
debris too. There you go.
And I will say, if anyone has young people in their life, I run the boat for the Navy Island cleanup, and I always give little boat lessons and stuff to the kids along the way. So if you have little ones, that's a short trip to an island, much easier than some of the bigger ones. It's a good place to start, and I spoil kids.
All right. So you asked how you can help. So one of my point of view is like to push them like not to use any styrofoam, like no foam aquaculture. So that's the one thing. So because styrofoam is super cheap and it's like it's get destroyed super easily. So to have like just like a movement saying we're not using styrofoam. Plastic is better. It's not perfect. It's just plastic altogether. So you can go and grab them after even like a couple of years, but styrofoam get destroyed like a million trillion of pieces, so that will be really helpful. Just to let you know, like in Tabasantag, there's aquaculture over there, and there's probably on the dune system many thousands of like those round pieces of styrofoam because they just get discarded and just float at sea. So I'm trying with like the lobster industry to try to push them to switch to plastic because why those buoy are get caught like get in the ocean is just it's the reason is like sometimes the propeller will get caught into the line and that buoy will be destroyed by like the styrofoam buoy will be destroyed in million pieces and the lobster fishermen will call that doing popcorn. So every time it's happened, oh, we've just done popcorn, so it's like flowing everywhere. But with the plastic one, it's all get together. It get destroyed, but it's get together, so it's possible for us like to gather it. So get maybe to just to have that like maybe something like I don't know like something like no foam something that will be a big something really better. So
Yeah, no foam campaign or something
yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm. And if they are willing, it's possible to apply for funding to help them because I sent to a couple of lobster fishermen. If the problem to switch from styrofoam to plastic is just because the price, let Nutrien be know, let the other group know we could apply for funding saying, okay, it costs like $2 more per buoy, so we have that funding in place to try to help. It will be really fun to have no more foam on the coastline. Like the picture of Matthew was perfect. So you just show a picture. So how do you clean that? It's impossible. It's impossible to clean.
Mm-hmm. That's all really good points. I will do obviously my best, but I'm not saying I can pull any strings, but I will advocate obviously for, you know, the oceans and the sustainability of the industry too. Perfect.
Matt, you're muted.
Just thank you, Caitlin. Good to see you.
Thank you. I also wanted to mention that at the Nature Trust, we're making an educational toolkit about marine debris. We're still working on it, but it should be out soon. And that will be a good resource for all of you guys. And I just saw that Ernie commented that they're going to be doing 2 beach cleanups on their property. That's going to be awesome. I'll put my email into the chat if you want to send me like your results, or if any of you other participants want to chat about some of the stuff that we're doing. Feel free to send me an email. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, if that's everything, I think we should wrap it up. It's been about an hour. Thank you all for coming, and thank you, Matt and Lewnanny, again for telling us about all of these things that are going on. It's been really fun.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Great to hear from you, and enjoy the weather, and see those of you that can make it on the 29th.
Yeah.
And follow my Instagram to see what we do every day.
Yes, of
Awesome.
course.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye
Merci les
guys.
amis. Bye.
Au revoir.